Good afternoon, everybody. Thanks for joining this afternoon's workshop. I'll just do a quick audio check. Can you just pop in the chat box if you can hear me loud and clear? And then we'll wait a couple of minutes for some more people to join, and then we'll dive into it. Excellent, Jay. Just give me a yes, so that sounds like everyone can hear me loud and clear. Now, Lisa says I can hear but can't see anything. I haven't put the presentations slides up yet, Lisa, so I'll do that in a moment. We've got about, I think, 17 joining us tonight, so just give it a couple of minutes and then we'll dive into it. While we're waiting, if you could use the chat feature to introduce yourself, tell us a bit about your business, and we can hopefully share some stories. Throughout this afternoon's presentation, I will leave probably around 10 to 15 minutes at the end of the session to ask questions. However, over the 2 hours, if you do have questions, please pop them in the chat box. Once I go over to presentation mode, I can't actually see the chat box. So about halfway through, I will pop in and see if there's any questions that I haven't answered already, and I'll get to those. Also put in the chat box whereabouts you're joining us from. This is obviously a Victoria-wide webinar, so I'd love to know where you're based. I'm based in Central Victoria in Bendigo. So yeah, let us know where you're dialing in from. Who's going to be the first one to pop in about your business? Got Lisa from Ringwood. Welcome, Lisa. Hopefully you're all busy typing away. Now, today's presentation, there's a lot in this presentation. It's pretty jam-packed. So if you've got a notepad and pen, that would be wonderful to jot some notes down. You will get a copy of this presentation as well, but I do a lot of talking. So yeah, you can jot some notes down as we go along. Try not to get too overwhelmed with the information overload. If you can take between 3 to 5 points out of today's session that you're going to implement with your Instagram strategy, then that's a great starting point. Because as I said, there's a lot of information. There's a few people jumping in, introducing themselves, which is great. Fantastic. Alana, you're a social media manager by the looks of it. That's awesome. Jay is looking to launch a digital business. That sounds interesting. Can you elaborate a little bit more on that, Jay, if you can? So you guys in the chat box to keep popping some information in, and I'm going to jump over to the slides and we'll get stuck into it. So it should be appearing on your screen now. Can everybody see that? I'll just wait to make sure everyone can before I get moving. I'm going to assume that's a yes from everyone. So, yep, fantastic. Good on you, Lisa. I appreciate that. Okay, so today's presentation is on how to engage a real following with Instagram. Now, we do cover a lot. We cover basically all the bells and whistles of Instagram, which will help you engage a real audience and grow an audience to then convert into revenue and clientele. So just a bit about the ASBAS Digital Solutions Program. If you all have registered, you will be able to access a 2-hour one-on-one mentoring session. So not only do you get access to webinars and different workshops, but you get access to one-on-one session. Now, I am actually a coach in those sessions, and I have to say they are really valuable sessions. The 2 hours, you get to cover a lot in that time, and you can really do a bit of a deep dive into your social media strategy. You can look at your website, anything digital basically. So when you do register, you get to look at all different mentors and see which one would suit your needs and what you're actually after in terms of upskilling in the digital space. So I'm pretty sure after this presentation tonight, you'll all receive an email. If you haven't already registered, you'll receive an email with a link on how to register for the 2-hour sessions, and they actually expire at the end of June. So you've only got just over, just under 6 weeks to make the most of that part of the program. It's $25 and it gives you 2 hours. So it's conducted via Zoom. Just a little bit about me. So my name is Brianna Cowan. My business is called Mingle Media. So it's a social media marketing business. Started in 2014. So primarily I'm managing businesses' social media platforms for them. I also do workshops and I also do coaching and consulting. And on a personal note, I have a weakness for donuts and servo dimmies. So feel free to share something personal about yourselves too. If anyone's in the Bendigo region, let me know. So what's covered this afternoon? As I said, there's a lot to cover. This is only basically a summary of what we're covering. We're covering all facets of Instagram. So what it is, how to use it. And I do appreciate that everybody is going to be at a different level at the moment. So this is fairly high level. Some elements of Instagram, as an example, I would run workshops purely on Instagram stories, and that workshop's about a 2-hour workshop. So this is a overall view of Instagram. We basically cover all the features. So there is a lot to cover. So we're going to start with setting up your Instagram account, how to establish your brand on Instagram, growing your following, and rules and etiquette. So we'll also talk about some best practice, and I'm going to share some case studies with you as well. So if you haven't already, I'd love for you to put your name, your business, and also what you want to get out of the session. So if there's any burning questions you have or something that you're just curious about, please feel free to pop it in the chat box and we will, I'll get to it. Now this presentation too, it's not a technical presentation, so we don't go through, the step-by-step of how to post, for example, but something like that, if you want to do a bit of a deeper dive into the technical side of thing, I'd strongly encourage you to book the 2 hours of one-on-one coaching, because we can really get into the crux of it there. So as an overview, what is Instagram? So most of you, is everyone on Instagram? Let's just put that in the chat box as well if everyone's on Instagram for business, because we're talking about business today. So basically it's an online mobile photo sharing, video sharing and social networking platform. The Instagram itself is made for mobile, okay? So you can still view it on desktop. You can also schedule posts on desktop, but essentially it is a mobile, it's geared towards mobile use. And a great platform for businesses to grow their following and also to grow their brand awareness and customer database. So the next slide shows you the two views of Instagram. Okay, so on the left-hand side, this view is the view as if you're using Instagram, as if you're scrolling through Instagram. Okay, the second screenshot is the view as if it's your business account. So I'm going to go through the view from the left hand first, starting at the top right hand side. Just going to go through all the different features because it can be quite overwhelming at times. And also keep in mind that the buttons down the bottom, they can actually change depending on who's using Instagram. So my view of Instagram may be different to somebody else's view of Instagram depending on how I use Instagram. So if you look at the top right-hand side on the view on the left, you've got that love heart there is notifications. So that's if you've got anyone who has started following you, if anyone has liked or commented on one of your posts. The one to the left of it, the plus sign, that's actually how you start instigating a post, a story, or a reel. To the left, to the right of notifications, you've got your DMs, so your direct messages. So Instagram has the ability for people to private message you. You can message businesses direct. You can also private message them through Instagram stories, which we will go on to talk about. Following on from DMs, you've got your stories. So stories sit up the top of your Instagram view. And stories last for 24 hours, okay? So they disappear, they go into your archive after 24 hours. So really good piece of content for that short, sharp content that necessarily isn't highly curated because it doesn't sit on your grid. Following on from stories, you've got your grid. So this is where if you're on Facebook, using Facebook, you're scrolling vertically. Okay, so you're looking at your grid and just scrolling through. Bottom right-hand side is your profile. So when you click on your logo, or your profile picture, I should say, you flip over to the view that you see on the right-hand side of the screen, which we'll get to in a moment. Next one along is the shopping tag. Now, if some of you have your phone handy, jump on and see if the bottom of your Instagram does look the same as this screenshot. The shopping tag takes you to a page where you can type in any type of theme and you can start shopping directly from Instagram. So if anyone is on the webinar and has a product or e-commerce, then the shopping feature is something that you would find very valuable if you haven't already set it up. There's a few guidelines around what you can sell on Instagram, but basically it allows the end user to buy straight from Instagram. Next to the shopping, excuse me, photo is Reels. So Reels are a reasonably new feature on Instagram. They launched in August last year, and Reels are Instagram's answer to TikTok. So I will speak about them later on the presentation, but basically they are a video. It does stay on your grid, and you can have a bit of fun with them. So you can add music, you can slice your video up, you can do slow motion, rewinds. It's got quite a few different features than stories. Next to that is the Explore tab. So you can do a search on anything really. You can search up any word, you can search up a place, you can search up a business. That's where you find, if you click on that Explore little magnifying glass, you'll also find that what you see on the page is different to what anybody else will see. When you click on it, Instagram curate the content based on what they think you would like to see. So when I click on it, because I do a lot of research on influencers, so when I click on the Explore tab, generally a whole heap of influencers come up. I think it was during the start of the year, I was looking at the royal family quite a bit. So when I clicked on that Explore tab, I'd just be flooded with royal family members. So have a look if you can see a bit of a pattern when you click on that Explore tab to see if Instagram know what you're searching for. So I now flick over to the image on the right-hand side. So this is the view that you have when you're logged in as your own business. So up the top left-hand side, you'll see your profile picture, which generally speaking should be your logo. If you have that little, that purple circle around it, or if you go to another business page and see their profile, if they have that purple circle around their profile, that means they have a story, an active story. Okay. Underneath that, so this is the arrows pointing across to the right-hand side. You see that little profile picture. That profile picture is images, will bring up images that people have tagged you in. So this is where you find what we call user-generated content. So for example, if you are a venue and people have an event at your venue, they upload photos, they tag that they're at your business, that's where all those photos will sit. Okay, so that's your tagged images. Underneath tagged images, you'll see the highlights. So see those circles just above the grid? There's 4.5 of them on the screen. So highlights are basically where you can drag your stories down. So the stories I mentioned before, they last for 24 hours. Highlights are those stories, but they sit on your feed permanently. So any story, say you did a great story about a product or a service that you provide and you want to keep that story up, you can archive it or make it sit permanently on your grid by adding it as a highlight. And I'll show you some accounts as we go further into the presentation. You can make some really cool thumbnails for these highlights so they match up with your brand. So it all keeps it in sync with each other. The next one, which I haven't got a word actually next to that, is your grid. So that little square, that 9-tile square in the left-hand corner, that's your grid. So that's where you see all the content that you've published. That's where that sits. The one next to it, the little play button, is your reels. So if you haven't done a reel before on your own account, you won't have that button there. The first time you do a reel, that button will automatically pop up. Okay, and then the one next to it is your IGTV. Again, if you haven't ever done an IGTV, you won't have that button there either. So there's another, if you're e-commerce, you can have a shopping button up there as well. So people click straight over to the shopping button and shop direct from Instagram. So as you can see, there is a lot of variations depending on how you're using your account. So what do you get with Instagram? You get an inbox, as I mentioned. You get the explore feature. You get a search button, a search magnifying glass, and also you get a unique scannable code. I don't know if anyone's set up it's called your QR code. So if you go into Instagram, go into your settings, there is a button there, I think it's under account. You can set up your own QR code. So that will allow people to easily follow you. So perhaps if you are a business where you've got people, coming into your store or your office, you can have a photo of your QR code there. They can scan over and they'll automatically go to your Instagram account. Another idea for that is if you can put it on your email signature, so people can scan it and go to your account straight from there. And you can customize that QR code as well. So why Instagram? So the Instagram audience are shoppers. Okay, so they expect to be marketed to, which is a little bit different to Facebook. So your Facebook audience, they're on Facebook to connect with family, to connect with friends, and to be entertained. Instagram audience are more inclined to buy straight from social media platform, and generally speaking, females tend to outnumber the males on Instagram. Certainly in the influencer world as well, but in terms of users, women, outnumber the guys. Has anyone used? If anyone has used an Instagram or worked with an Instagram influencer before, I'd love for you to share that as well. So people actually do research on Instagram. Okay, so shoppers, they're going to Instagram, they're searching up things under the search tool that I mentioned before, to get inspiration, to do research on products that they're looking for. They're also getting lots of valuable tips and tricks when it comes to visual things such as fashion and homewares. So they are using Instagram as a research platform. That's why it's important to have great imagery. You don't have to be a professional photographer, but to have highly curated imagery, and also to be authentic on the platform. Okay, so which we'll talk about towards the end of the presentation. Just a little comparison in terms of users per month compared to other social media platforms. So Instagram is sitting about 9 million users a month, as opposed to Facebook is about 15 million, and YouTube. However, users of Instagram are more engaged than your Facebook audience. Okay, so, and it could be a good thing to test as well if you've got both Facebook and Instagram, is to see where is your audience engaging with you. Do you get more reach and engagement on Facebook, or do you get more reach and engagement on Instagram? Thankfully, both platforms have some great analytics that you'll be able to do a fair comparison with, just to see where you're getting the most traction. So some Instagram essentials. Firstly is images. So I can't highly recommend enough, if you do have budget, is to engage in a professional photographer. And if you don't, that's perfectly fine. We've all got pretty amazing cameras in our hands via our smartphones, and there's some pretty amazing apps that you can use to also Photoshop photos. So I would steer away, if you can, though, from stock images, and I'll give some examples later on. But yeah, stock images don't get as much traction as original images. they lose a bit of authenticity as well. So where you can, use original images, and hashtags too. So hashtags are a really important part of your strategy. Best practice is to use between 11 and 30 hashtags, which sounds like a lot, but it's actually, once you start sort of brainstorming hashtags that are relevant to your business or relevant to that image that you've got up, you actually get there quite quickly. So a best practice here is to start a library worth of hashtags. So I just put them in my notes on my computer for each client that I manage. And when I add them over to Instagram, I then add any more hashtags I need to that are relevant for that photo, or I delete certain hashtags that may not be relevant for that piece of content. So we will talk about hashtags later on too. So if in case you're feeling a bit overwhelmed with what hashtags to use, I'll go through a little exercise with you. Now, you would have heard the word the algorithm before. If you actually want to know a little bit more about the algorithm in general, there's a really good documentary on Netflix called The Social Dilemma. It's more about a Facebook documentary. However, Facebook own Instagram, and there are similarities in terms of the algorithm. Okay, so in a nutshell, it is all artificial intelligence. Okay, so just because you send out a post on your grid doesn't mean all your followers are going to see it. Hopefully you do pick up, a good chunk of your followers and also some new followers, but it all goes on. If that content is getting engagement, then your content will reach more people. So when we say engagement, if they are liking it, if someone's commented, if someone shared it, or if someone saved it, that is considered engagement. It's also considered engagement if you do a Instagram story and somebody direct messages you, or they perhaps fill out a poll on your story. So even if the engagement happens privately, the algorithm still notices that, and it's still classed as a piece of engagement. So you don't want to go out there and desperately seek engagement. However, if you can do it authentically, you will find that you'll pick up momentum as you go along. So the algorithm kicks in a newsfeed and also Instagram stories. So as a user, you probably, I'm sure many of you follow a large number of Instagram accounts. You're not necessarily guaranteed to see all those Instagram stories. So I know that every day when I open Instagram, there's probably at least 5 Instagram stories that I know will appear in the first 5 at the top of my Instagram. So there's an algorithm behind stories and an algorithm behind the newsfeed, and Reels as well. So at the moment, Reels, because they're relatively new, Reels are getting really good reach and engagement because Instagram are putting a focus on that particular feature because it's a new product. So if you haven't considered doing a reel before, make a little note of that, and we'll get to that later on. So here's a little bit of a mud map, if you like, for an Instagram recipe. So all this combined will set you on your way for a winning Instagram strategy. So you're looking at visuals, first of all. So you've got to have content. There's no way around that. You've got to have either images or you've got to have video content. Then you've got to have a story behind that as well. Okay, so don't go for a hard sell at all. If you break it up in terms of, say, 80-20. So 80% is storytelling and 20% might be that, that sales pitch. Then you have engagement. Obviously, the more engagement you get, as I mentioned before, the further your content will reach. User-generated content I touched on slightly. So where you can, if you have photos that people have tagged you in, repurpose that piece of content. So it might be that it doesn't actually go in the theme of your grid. However, you can share it to your story. And final one, there's influencers. If you have a product or service that lends itself to engaging with an influencer, then by all means engage with one. There's a bit of a formula around working with influencers as well, and also finding influencers. Unfortunately, we don't go into it in this presentation, but I'm more than happy to speak about that during if you book a 2-hour session. But certainly influencers, they can they sell products basically, especially if you're engaged with the right one. In my experience, I've found that micro influencers seem to be the best people to work with. A couple of reasons why. So a micro influencer is someone who has between about 5,000 and 25,000 followers. So generally speaking, this is not their full-time gig. They are working full-time or working part-time, and they obviously have their Instagram profile as well, which they're trying to grow. Now, when an influencer is trying to grow their following, they will want to work with businesses that's going to help them grow their brand, if you like, or their profile. So they are happy to, most of the time, they're happy to receive product or services for free. So you're not actually paying them a fee. And they are also highly engaged with their audience because they're in that growth phase. I found that they're very in touch with their audience and they respond to their audience as well. So people tend to like when they are responded back to on Instagram. So yeah, consider looking at a micro influencer. When you do reach out to an influencer, if they come back straight away with their media kit, so a lot of them rightly so have a media kit because that's how they make money, it's how they put food on the table. If you don't have budget for that particular influencer and yeah, you can't afford to pay them, you just politely decline. Okay, so and perhaps offer to work with them in the future. So because you're a growing business. So look for micro influencers, and if anyone's wondering how to find them, you basically have to spend time down the rabbit warren that Instagram can be, and look at hashtags that are relevant to perhaps your product. Look for people in your area as well, and look how many followers they've got. But it does take time. But yeah, just know who's in that space, basically. The other thing with influencers, in particular micro influencers, is they all follow each other as well. So if you look at there's a girl in Bendigo who's a micro influencer, so I jump on her Instagram from time to time, and I'll always see the same people commenting. And if I jump on their account, I go over and have a look, and sure enough, they're also influencers of some degree too. Now, before we get into the case study, I might just jump over to the chat because I've been chatting for a while. Let's have a look if there's any questions. What have we got? So Jay, digital business to sell digital products like guided journals. Oh, cool. That sounds awesome, Jay. Are you on Instagram, Jay? Because obviously you could, I'd be interested to see if you're on Instagram and what you're posting already. So we'll dive into the case study. Has anyone heard of Frank Bod? They're an Australian-based coffee scrub company. I think they're founded by like 5 friends in a cafe however many years ago. So they've got a product which is exfoliant coffee scrub. I personally have never used it before, but it's very popular. So you can see here, they're just from this screen, there's a couple of screenshots. They know who their audience, their target market is. Based on these photos, anyone want to guess who you think their target market is? It's pretty obvious given the content that they post. So their target market is females between the ages of, say, 18 up to 40 odd. So you get a really good feel for their brand straight away just from these two. Like, how many photos is that? There's probably 9, what's that, 12, I know, so we'll call it 15 photos, 16, 18, we'll call it 18 photos. You get a feel for their brand already. You get a feel of sort of that earthy tone, fun. There's Jay's Instagram account. Thanks, Jay. Bit of fun, very female dominated. You can see a mixture of product photos. You can see a mixture of lifestyle photos as well. So they're certainly not just posting photos of their products. So here's another screenshot of some other photos they've used. So again, there's only, I'd say, 50-50 here of product and lifestyle photos. Cute little pig with a unicorn outfit on in the right-hand side. Probably got like thousands of likes. So they've got great imagery. They do promote their product, obviously, aspirational and fun. So even if you haven't bought their product, their account is a fun account to engage with. They use user-generated content really well. If you go over to their page and click on the little profile pic to see their tagged photos, they've got thousands of photos of their customers using their product. Now, they do this really well. I think it's the next slide shows you their packaging. But when you buy their product, it's basically all over their labeling of how to post a photo and tag them in that photo. So they've got this whole library of user-generated content that they can share on their stories or they can share on their grid. They also tag and strategically use influencers. So you'll see there's an account called Couple Goals. Okay, it's got, I think it had like, it's got 4 million followers. Who would have thought, hey? So they have, so Frank Bod have posted a photo. You'll see that little photo on the angle. They've posted a photo of a guy and girl using the product, and they've tagged Couple Goals. Okay, so what happens then is the admins of Couple Goals, they get a notification to say Frank Bod has tagged you. They then look at that photo and then they can reshare that photo to an audience of 4 million followers. So that's how they've strategically used tagging. And also they've got I'd love to see what they spend on influencers, because they have some really influential females using their product and posting about their product. That's actually one thing I want to touch on again about influencers. I find that the micro influencers seem to be more authentic as well. Again, they're trying to build their following as opposed to an influencer who's just been paid $5,000 to do a post for a company. So yeah, I find that the micro ones are more, and it's probably because I overthink a lot of because I see influencers all the time, and I just see some influencers sit there and go through, like, say, 6 deliveries they've received for the day. So it's so unauthentic, and you can tell they're just doing it because they're being paid for that. And just to give you an idea too, there's an influencer in Geelong. So, and I won't mention any names, but there's a clothing label in Geelong that's engaged with this influencer, and they paid her, I think it was $2,000 to do one post. That post generated $64,000 worth of sales. So you can see that if you get the right influencer on board, it can totally be a huge game changer. So here's a shot of Frank Bod's labeling. And I love the way, so Frank Bod is a whole, so the way they pitch themselves is they're a person. Okay, so I think they actually say, yeah, I'm a social guy, there you go. So it's a male, so Frank Bod is actually a male. And the way they talk in the first person, they really encourage people to, or it's like you're connecting with a human as opposed to a brand. We talk about that a fair bit in social media, humanizing your brand. If you haven't done so already, do a little persona of your business. So say if your business was a person, map out who they would be. So would they be male or female? How old would they be? What are their interests? Where do they live? What do they do in their spare time? So that can really set the tone for your voice on social media, because people will connect with people over brands more. So yeah, a really great example from Frank Body is to how to subtly encourage your audience to post about your product on social media, because everyone loves seeing reviews from peers as opposed to being told to buy a product from that particular brand. So getting started, I will zip over these few slides unless if you haven't already got an Instagram account, otherwise I'll zoom over these slides. But basically all you need is a smartphone and an Instagram account. So I'm just going to go over a couple of best practice for setting up your Instagram account. So if you've already got one, which I'm going to say you all have, just go back and see if you've got these things in place. Okay, so do you have if you have a website, do you have a website link in your bio? Do you have your profile photo as your logo? Okay, so rather than a photo of something else, or it might be you, or it might be a photo of your business, always go with your logo. Now, your bio should be interesting, and it should, it's basically your elevator pitch. So it's got to be short and sharp, to the point, and it's got to let people know what your business is about, and with a bit of, it's got to be interesting as well. And there's also a call to action button, which I'll show the next slide, which you should have your details on to make it easier for people to contact you. So if you need to make any changes to your profile, all you need to click is the edit profile button, and you'll see the sections that you can fill out. And here's just a quick snapshot of my profile. You'll see how I've actually just dot pointed the services I provide. So you've got I think it's about 160 characters you've got for your bio. So you can't go to a novel in that section. It's got to be short and sharp and interesting. So I find by dot pointing what the business is about, it gets straight to the point. You can also jazz it up with some emojis to make it a bit more personal as well. You'll also notice, and I think it might be the next slide, let me just, no, I'll jump back over here. You'll also notice here, my username is Ming Media Ego. So that's the one up the top, you see, all one word. However, my name, so again, when you change your name, you do it through edit profile. My name is Social Media for Regional Vic. All right, so if you do have your username and your name as the same, change it, because it's another opportunity for you to talk about your business. I find also by having, if you're a business, a local business that serve local customers, I also find that having the name of your town or your suburb or wherever you are helps with people finding you on Instagram. So I've got Mingle Media Bendigo, so I've got the word Bendigo in my username, but then I've been more descriptive in my name by saying Social Media for Regional Vic. So something else to consider. If you haven't already got it set up like this, that's an action point to take out of this already. So there's now 3 options with setting up your account in terms of what type of account. So you can have a personal account, which we're not going to go there for business. You can have a business account, which I'm saying, yes, set up your business account, or you can have a creator account. Now, the difference between business and creator is you get a lot more choice in terms of songs to add to any of your Instagram Reels or Instagram stories. So it might not sound like a big deal, but trust me, if you're generating content that you need to put music to, it can be really frustrating, the choice you get as a business account. So I've actually recently, in the last sort of 6 weeks, have started changing over business accounts to creator account. Pros and cons of having a business account. So you get some awesome analytics. Okay, so they can be found under your settings and insights. So the analytics cover what time of the day is best to post, what days of the week are best to post as well. You can see how many people your post has reached, how many people have engaged. And the one I really like is you can see how many people clicked over to your profile. So say if they saw a photo without scrolling through the grid and they've stopped on your post, and then there's something about that post that actually made them feel compelled to click over to your profile and to see what else you've got on your, or what business does or sells. So I always look at that one. And the other one I look at is the saved, if people saved your post. So, you know, they've got some sort of interest, they've saved for a reason, they're going to go back to it at some point. A call to action, so you can have phone, you can have email or directions. Depending where you live, obviously in Bendigo, I wouldn't worry about giving people directions, but phone or email, yes. And the other thing you get in the business account is unfortunately, you've got to have over 10,000 people, followers to have this feature. Hopefully it does change one day. But when you do a story, you can have a link in your story that sends people to a website. So great. Again, great if you've got a product that you're selling. And I'm hopeful one day they will change that. So I touched on this earlier in terms of branding. So have your logo as your profile pic, and I mentioned before about the username and also the name. So just make sure your username in particular, so that's your handle, we call it, matches up with your website, matches up with your Facebook as well. So it's easy to find. And then look at your strategy in terms of your branding. Okay, so look at what colours are going to suit your brand. Hopefully you'll have a logo already that you can leverage off. Look at the different styles, and then start mapping out what you're going to post, on your grid. All right, so now we're going to get into content planning and content pillars. So here is a couple of examples of accounts that really take this branding seriously. And I mean, I don't know, I think one's a photographer. So you can see on the left-hand side, her work is stunning, and the way she's got it set up on the grid is just, yeah, it's awesome. So that's probably an extreme example. The one on the right-hand side, certainly everyone would be able to do this. I'm going to talk about some tools to do this. But you can see her strategy. She's got, if you start from the bottom right-hand side, she's got a product. She's got a, or he or she, they've got a quote. They've got, I would say, a bit of inspiration with the flower. It might be talking about a fragrance. Got a picture of a coffee. So again, it could be a motivational post that they're giving to their followers. Another quote in the middle. So you can see that pattern. So their middle grid is that white space where they've got motivational quotes, or it might be a joke, whatever it is, but it's a clear theme you can see there. Here's a couple of other examples there. You can see the colours that they use, the layout that they use as well. Again, this is best practice. If it's not something that you have time, because all this does take time, if you don't have the time to curate your grid like this, that's okay. But here's some just inspiration if you do want to go down that path. And visually, you can see visually it looks beautiful when you're scrolling through those particular Instagram accounts. As a starting point, create a mood board if you can. So again, just looking at different themes, looking at different colour palettes, different styles, different types of inspiration for your Instagram. And then you can start planning your grid. Okay, so I would be encouraging you, when you get a copy of this presentation, print this page off and use this as a bit of a guide to help you start planning your content pillars. Another good exercise is to do it with somebody who's outside of your business. So because you're in your business, you see it through a different lens. So get someone who's outside of your business that perhaps is your customer, that can see it through a different lens, because you don't want to be putting content on that's just, what you see. You want to be delivering content for your consumer, okay? And you will know if what you're publishing, if what your content that you're publishing is working, because you will either get engagement or you won't get engagement. So that's just a quick little snapshot of an example. And the next one, I have got the map of the grid and how it actually translates onto Instagram. Okay, so you can see this is actually a drain clearing service in Bendigo. So literally cameras down the drain, see the blockage and unblock it. So you can see how we've mapped out the Instagram grid here. So they've got photos of on the job. They've got those product tiles you see, so the orange and the blue tiles, they all relate to their service or perhaps education around their service. We've got reviews as well. So you can see how different themes fit in with each other and how it looks visually on Instagram. So we could easily have just all photos, but I think the brand colours, they're orange and blue, that breaks it up quite nicely. Here's another example. This is actually Peter. She is based in Bendigo, and you'll see her images. You can see the tone straight away. So her Instagram account is about her house in Bendigo. So some really nice interior design images, and she puts her cat in there as well, and she's now got a dog. But those, you can see the themes on the left-hand side and then the photos that go with it. And some of these photos, she repurposes her photos, but she might zoom into a particular photo or flip it or do something slightly different. But you can see same filter, you know, similar photos, but all with a different message, if you like. So if you want to know where to start with actually planning your grid, as I said, map it out with somebody else outside of your business. So look at recurring themes. So it could be that, and I'm just going to pick on, I'm going to go back into the chat box to pick on someone here. It could be, Jay, that you're telling people about the benefits of a digital guided journal or a digital planner. All right, so it could be that you're helping them, you know, map out their month. Look at external things that are happening outside your business as well. So we certainly use this when, so an example of that is if you look at Juliana Motoring or Juliana Hotel in Bendigo. So their hotel in Bendigo is super active on social media, and the social media manager there posts a lot of what's happening in Bendigo. So not necessarily about the motel, but she talks about what's happening in and around Bendigo, which is obviously has a link back to her business as well. But yeah, see if there's any other things happening in your local area or within your industry that you can leverage off. There was another person on here that was in psychology practice. So there'd be lots of outside events that you could leverage off there, Alana, or to promote, particularly in Melbourne. So yeah, so don't make it all about you, but also think about who your audience is and how you're going to add value, or how you're going to educate, or how you're going to entertain. Best practice is if you can map out a monthly content calendar. So look at it month by month, and then if you can schedule your content week by week. So it sounds all easy to do, but you've got to allocate that time to actually sit down and then schedule your content in for the week. And it will make your life easier instead of scrambling to put a post up, you know, 3 times a week or 4 times a week or once a day. If you actually block that time out and schedule your content in, you'll find that you just feel more organized and you will get better results because you're not rushing, and they're actually strategically planned. Another thing is to make it sustainable. So don't go all out guns blazing for your first month and say do 3 reels a week. You've got to, well, you can if you want, but you've got to make sure that it's sustainable. If you can focus on consistency over frequency. One question I get asked fairly often is how often should I post? And look, I know some businesses that post 8 times a day, some businesses that post once a week. So it depends on the nature of your business. The business that posts 8 times a day is a clothing label I think they're in Sydney. Actually, I've written they post about 12 times a day on Facebook in particular. So you have to, whatever your strategy is going to be, make sure it's sustainable. You can wait, whatever it is. So here's some ideas for your grid planning. So people buy into your personality, and that's one thing that will is your point of difference from a competitor. Okay, so if you've got a competitor that has exactly the same product, price point, all that sort of thing, the thing that's going to set you apart is your personality, and that's what people relate to on social media, and that's what also sets social media apart. Okay, so you've got, you know, TV, you've got radio, you've got press. You know, they are limited to actually show off your personality. I think you get, 15 seconds or 30 seconds on a TV or radio ad. So the other beauty of social media is you obviously mixing up your content every day, unlike TV and radio. And I'm all for TV and radio, don't get me wrong, but particularly hard in those metro areas where the prices are fairly high. But you don't get that opportunity in TV and radio because your ad stays on there for that whole month. Okay, and then you can swap over after a month. But every post you do on social media is different. So you've got every time you do a post, you've got another opportunity to show your audience something different about your business. So definitely include your personality. You want to make sure that people think that they're connecting with a person as opposed to a brand. Content that shows off your brand values. So, you know, if you sponsor a local sporting community, you know, post about that. If someone, you know, a staff member might be celebrating a birthday, if that's important in your business, post about that. You want to be always constantly thinking of storytelling. Okay? You also think about educating and adding value. So you'll see the last dot here is content promoting your product or services. So that try and think of that 80-20 rule. 80% is the brand's personality and 20% is that selling post. A couple of tools here to use for planning your grid. The first one's called Preview. So these are all, I think they're app-based and also desktop. So I find when I have used these tools in the past, I used Plan, and I found I used it on my desktop. Another one actually is called Plan Only. I don't have that on there. It's PLANOLY. Again, it's got an app and also desktop. And I find that, yeah, I found it was easy to use on desktop. And when I say grid planning, you can basically upload photos onto these platforms and it'll show you how your Instagram grid will look. Okay, so before you go and publish that actual content, you can see how it will look. You can move it around to see, especially if you're first jumping on or if you're changing your strategy, you can jump on to these platforms and see how the look and feel of it's going to be. Now, I'll just go back one more. Another a scheduling tool I use doesn't have the feature of actually looking at the grid. However, I use this every day because I just find the functionality of it's nice and simple and it can be linked to Facebook. And it's called Creator Studio. So to get to Creator Studio, you need to log into your Facebook page. Then log into your business Facebook page, then going to Publishing Tools. And then about halfway down, you'll see Creator Studio. So this platform allows you to schedule content on Facebook and on Instagram at the same time, or you can schedule them, so you can schedule content separately, but it's all on the one screen or one platform, if you like, and super easy to use. So it's called Creator Studio. It's actually by Facebook as well. So a couple of things about images. So again, getting back to that branding, using the image, so the colors that are in sync with your brand. Use a filter if you want. I don't use a filter, but particularly I've seen Instagram accounts in Bendigo that are in the fashion space, and they put filters on every photo, so you can't actually see the true color of a particular, you know, dress or jacket or pair of pants, whatever it may be. So if you are going to use a filter, stick with that filter for your whole grid. There's an app called Presets. I think Presets by someone, I can't remember what it is, but yeah, you can really make your images pop, especially if you do have a dark image. You can lighten it up, but yeah, stick to the same filter if you are going to use one. And just some pro tips, particularly on Instagram, the lighter the better. So yeah, so try and look for those light images that you can use as opposed to a darker image. They say they generate more engagement or more likes than dark images. So, and it does look visually better if you do have those light images with some white space around. Here's some apps to use for, I suppose, Photoshop. The one I use religiously is called Snapseed if I need to do any editing on photos. It used to be $15, but I think it's actually free now. I've probably been using it for, I don't know, three years. But there's literally hundreds. There's hundreds of apps to lighten or to edit photos. If anyone's using one at the moment, I'd love to hear what it is. I tend to find one and stick to it. So VSCO, I was using that again, it was a fair while ago. And the one I mentioned before was presets. So yeah, literally there's hundreds of them. Every time I read a blog, different blog, I find a different app. But yeah, once you find an app that you're happy with, because it does take a while to fiddle around and learn it, stick to it until you find something better. So the next thing is using text overlays on images. Everyone would have seen these on Instagram. So there's, what's that, 1, 2, 3, there's 5 apps there that you can use. My favorite by far is Canva. So Canva is an app and also can be used on desktop. I use it every day on desktop. So I've got the app, but again, once you've gotten used to doing something on the desktop, it's hard to go back to the app, especially when you're designing a graphic, an image for social media. So yeah, Canva's my favorite. It's a free tool to use. There's also a paid version, which is, I think it's $13 a month. You do unlock some more features on that. So really low cost, and you can create really professional images. There's lots of features in Canva. You can create presentations. You can create all different types of social media tiles. Canva have actually made it nice and easy, and they have the social media tiles in there as templates already. They've also got, so in terms of how big the tile is in pixel sizes, they've also got templates that you can tweak for your own social media. So if you haven't already, jump into Canva and get familiar with that. I think there's a question in the chat box. Jay saying he loves Snapseed too. Oh, great. What sort of pet have you got there, Jay? Tell me it's a dog. So yeah, Canva. If you're not already using it. So the other one I haven't mentioned is Enlight. That's a pretty cool app to turn your photos into videos. So they can. So for example, if you've got a photo of, say, a waterfall or something with water in it, you can actually dump it into Enlight, and it makes the water move. So it's pretty cool. So now I'm going to talk about videos. So videos on Instagram, they have to be between 3 and 60 seconds long. Okay, so anything longer than 60 seconds, it goes over into an IGTV, which we speak about later. If you can use text overlays and captions, the reason I say this, and I don't know the actual stat, but a lot of people watch Instagram, or they consume content on Instagram with the sound down. All right, so if you're doing a video for your feed, if you can put those captions over so people can watch it with the sound down. A feature that's recently been added on Instagram stories is a caption feature. So if you're talking to camera and you want captions to be on that particular story, there's a feature now you can click on captions and Instagram translates it. Have to say that sometimes they do get it wrong, but yeah, if you speak nice and clearly, they will add the captions. And I definitely consume those videos on Instagram in silent. Well, I'd say 50-50. So 50% of the time it's on silent. The other times I do have the volume up. So get creative with movement and effects, and I will speak about that more in the reels, but you want to be creating video that's going to be engaging. Okay, talking to camera may not necessarily cut the mustard, depending again on what your business is and what your objective is. But there's some great apps, and I discovered a new one this last week. Is called, I'm just finding my phone, DGI MIMO. So it's DGI, it's capital D, sorry, DJI MIMO, MIMO. The other one I use is called InShot, INSHOT. So they're the two I use for editing any video in terms of chopping up a video, slow motion, time lapse, etc. Again, you've got to spend some time learning those apps, but yeah, super easy to use. Live video for stories. So there is also a feature on Instagram where you can stream live. So that basically gives you an opportunity to engage in real time with your audience. Now, I have to say that when live video came out, I didn't have a huge uptake on Instagram, but I do see more and more influencers, I would say, not so much brands, using the live feature. Now, with a live story, it can be viewed for 24 hours. So if people don't join it at the time that you're live, that's okay. They can go back and watch it during that 24 hours. The other benefit of having a live stream is that you can have a two-way conversation with your audience. So you literally are streaming live, which sounds pretty scary. And people can ask questions. People can, give you a shout out, whatever it may be. If you are going to do a live for the first time, aim to be live for at least 5 to 20 minutes. All right, so don't just jump on and do a 3-minute live stream. When you do go live, Instagram will start notifying people as well. So I'm not sure if anyone notices they get notifications when someone has gone live on Instagram. I certainly do. So they will send it out to people the longer that you're on there as well. If live video scares the bejesus out of you, that's totally fine. There's other ways you can engage with your audience through Instagram stories. I'll just make a note to talk about that particular feature. Has anyone done a live before? I'd like to see the stats, but I don't think certainly stories took off when Instagram introduced stories, but I don't think the live feature has taken off or certainly not as much as stories. But a great way, especially if you have an event within your business, is to stream that live for people who can't make it there. So here's a couple of different ideas. You could launch new products. So Jay, I'm going to pick on you again. If your product is launched, ready to go, I would be saying you could do, if it's not quite launched, ready to go, you could do a teaser campaign leading up to that, and then do a live video to talk about your particular product when it's, if you're doing a pre-sale. Show you behind the scenes, look at what's happening around your office, your factories, whatever your setup is. The live Q&A, that seems to work well. I have to say that's probably the most common theme I see on live Instagram, live Instagram videos, is that Q&A. All right, and a lot of those influencers are doing it. There's another brand called Sabia Co. So they make sustainable facial products and makeup removal products, and they do live video really well. And they also, I'm just going to their Instagram account now, they also do IG TV really well too. So if you go to their Instagram account, it's SABBIACO. So they're very active on their social media, on their Instagram with IGTV. It's her and her partner jump in the bathroom and go through the different types of products. And again, that's a really cool point of difference, because it started off as just her business, and then he jumped on to a couple of IGTVs and also her Instagram stories. And people were saying, we want to see more of your partner, and because he's a bit of a larrikin. So yeah, so now they're a brand together. So yeah, have a think about if there's scope in your business to do a live stream on Instagram. They do get preference too. You'll see that if you jump on Instagram and there has been a business or an influencer that has done an Instagram live, they actually overtake all the stories, and they sit at the top of your Instagram story feed. So they do get preference over just Instagram stories. Some more video tools. Animoto, that's quite a good one. Again, app and desktop. Spark Video and Pocket Video. And most of these apps are free too. So most of them are free, but they also have a paid component. So generally you've got to pay to unlock some of the cooler features. So I'm just going to jump over to the chat box before we jump into Instagram stories. And I'm going to grab a drink of water as well. Iris has asked, cool. Do you know of any app ad voice? Off the top of my head, Iris, I don't, but I can I can find one for you. Yeah, off the top of my head, I don't know. Just trying to think, is it Rev, R-E-V? Look up that one, Iris. Rev, R-E-V. I think they will convert voice to, oh, you're saying a voice over to an image. Do you mean a video maybe? Is it a video or an image? If it's an image, I'll have to do a bit more digging around for that. No other questions, I don't think, at this stage. Just having a look. No. So, Instagram stories. Who has been doing any Instagram stories? I'd love to know. If you're not, you will be after tonight, hopefully. So, Insta stories are the fastest growing feature on Instagram. So, they've been around for, golly gosh, I reckon it's 18 months to 2 years now. And Instagram stories were really Instagram's answer to Snapchat. So because the Instagram stories disappear after 24 hours, similar to content that was being shared on Snapchat. So they actually won a lot of market share back from Snapchat. They hurt them pretty hard actually. So they're, in terms of viewership, I would say it's that sort of 18 to 35-year-olds are really investing time in Instagram stories. They're definitely more relaxed than the feed. So you can really, anyone who's got a smartphone, you can grab their phone and do a quick video to camera on Instagram stories. They're made up of 15-second loops or 15-second segments, I suppose, element components. And you'll see at the top, when you're watching an Instagram story, you'll see how long it is because it has lines at the top. Each one of those lines represents a chunk of the story up to 15 seconds. There is a lot of features on Instagram stories. So you can add text. You can draw things, you can add stickers, you can add lots of crazy filters actually. I was actually looking at Instagram stories before I jumped on tonight, looking at the filters, and wow, there's some really crazy filters out there at the moment. And the filters change, they change regularly. A lot of influencers actually have around the business of making filters because they get paid per usage. So within the sticker feature, when I say stickers, you're probably thinking, well, what's a sticker? So you can add a location, you can tag another business, you can add hashtags, you can add a GIF, you can add the time of the day, the weather, the day of the week. The stickers are found if when you open up your Instagram story to record a story, you can either do it straight from your profile picture. So click on the profile picture and click on add story, or you can do it from the top little plus symbol on the right-hand side of your Instagram account. And yeah, when you open that up, you'll see all the features there. So they're at the top and also at the bottom of your screen. So yeah, lots and lots of features on Instagram. So if you're feeling like you don't want to talk to camera, that's okay. You don't have to, you don't have to do any videos. You don't have to put yourself on the story. You can actually upload you can upload photos from your camera roll as a story. You can also share something that's on the grid to your story. So if you see a post, if you're scrolling through Instagram and you see a post that you think, I think my audience might appreciate this particular post, you can hit the little paper airplane underneath that post and it gives you the option to share to your story. So there's, what's the account that does this all the time? I'll find her. Her name is Megan Luscombe. So actually this would be a good one for you. I think it was Alana. If you look up Megan, her name's Megan Luscombe, Luscombe _. So she's based in Melbourne, actually. I think in Mornington Peninsula she is. Mornington Peninsula. She does some great stories in terms of sharing other people's content. So she'll share lots of different quotes, perhaps, or different educational posts that her audience can relate to. She actually built her following so she's a life and relationship coach, but she actually built her following. She's got about nearly 10,000 followers, actually. She'll be excited about that. But she built her following based on doing was maths, so Married at First Sight, so doing maths commentary on her stories. So every night Maths was on, she would record herself talking about different elements of the show or different scenes that had happened throughout the program. And then because her demand was so big, she then started doing commentary for The Bachelor. So commenting on The Bachelor and The Bachelorette. So she did it in a educational and really entertaining way. And yeah, she's grown to nearly 10,000 followers. And I reckon I think she started doing that, say, about 18 months ago. So she really used her stories to build an audience. So yeah, if you're not feeling confident with stories, because there's a lot to take in with stories, and I'd love to go into it tonight, but we'd be here till midnight. So if you're not feeling confident with stories, just start sharing a photo perhaps, or look at a post that you think your audience will relate to and share that onto your story. It's great. It'd be great as a best practice to have your profile photo with that purple ring around it constantly. Okay, so if you've got a story up 24/7, another I suppose hack, if you like, is you might add a story in the morning and then later on that evening add another story. So that second story that you added stays till the following evening, and that one you did in the morning actually drops off. So you'll still have that purple circle to indicate that you actually have a story up there at the moment. What else have we got about stories? I mentioned before all the features. So again, all these features are within the actual Instagram story itself. So you can add text, you can go live, you can do a boomerang. So that's where you've got a looping piece of content. You can do a zoom in, and there's lots of different animations that are around a super zoom. You can do rewind, hands-free. I actually use that feature most of the times when I'm doing a story. So I don't have to have my hand on the button. I can just have my hand holding the phone. You can do stop motion. I've got that twice. Should be slow motion and stop motion. So yeah, lots of different features in stories. And the more sort of entertaining they are, the more you will capture your audience as well. The other thing with Instagram stories is you can add hashtags. So you can add up to, I think it's still 11 hashtags. So another best practice is, so that your Instagram story is not super messy with 11 hashtags, for example, you can actually shrink those hashtags, or you can change the color of the text of that hashtag so it blends into your photo or video that you've got. So it's almost like you hide them. I mentioned before about engaging with your audience. You can do that through stories. There's a feature called a poll or Q&A. So you can actually put a question box when you do an Instagram story, and you can either ask the audience a question, or you can get them to ask you a question. So this is a great way to either get for the audience to get to know you, or for you to get to know your audience. I've done this in the past where I've done a question box, and I put in saying, ask me any social media question you want. So the next day I'll go back and answer all those questions. And I've had some really good feedback from that. I should be making it a regular weekly thing, but I didn't want it to get too sort of repetitive. But yeah, polls are a great way to get that engagement for your audience. If you are building an Instagram story that's say just a tile, you can do that in Canva as well. So Canva have a template for Instagram stories where you can create this nice template and upload it as a story on Instagram. So if I just go back to that front page, so here is an example of a screenshot, I suppose, of a story. So you'll see how the first story starts, meet Jane in pink, so it's obviously a pair of sunglasses. Next slide says shop 50 pairs, first only through Instagram. Okay, next slide shows the actual pair of sunglasses on somebody, and putting raspberries on a finger. So again, quite cool, quite quirky. Here's another example of screenshots of an Instagram story. So this particular one was going through a recipe, so DIY matchstick cookies. So if you start on the top left-hand side and glance your eyes across over to the right and then back down So they've got step-by-step of how to make these cookies, which are pretty cool. And then you see the end product, and you'll see at that bottom right-hand tile, it's got to see the full edit on the blue. If you swipe up there, you can actually then see the full tutorial of how to make them. Here's another example of these. I think might be the next slide. No, but they were supposed to be moving videos, but these are videos. These ones, but they haven't come up on the presentation. Here's another example of screenshots of an Instagram story, which again, it tells a story basically. People can click through, so people can actually click through your stories to get to the next slide. They don't have to stay on that story for say 10 seconds. They can just click through to get to the next one. As I mentioned before, there is different apps again for creating stories. So I tend to lean on Canva for my any templates I want to make for stories. You can also use Adobe Spark or Pocket Video. They've got some cool templates in there. InShot. So I mentioned the InShot app before. If you have a video that you want to upload to stories, but you have recorded it with your phone horizontally, which a lot of people do for Facebook, you can dump it into InShot and it will convert it into a horizontal video. So you can see there it takes up the whole real estate of your Instagram story. So wherever you can, make sure you're using the right pixel size for any posting on Instagram. So whether it be Instagram stories or posts to the grid. As I mentioned before, the magical swipe up link. If you've got 10,000 followers, great. I'm very envious. So the magic swipe up link can actually does send people off to your website to then make a purchase or read a blog, whatever it may be. Now we're going to jump over to Reels. Has anyone done a Reel? Has anyone dived in and done a Reel? I'm just going to jump over to the question box again. Cool. So if you haven't, that's another note to jot down today. If you haven't done stories or Reels, it's something that I would strongly encourage you to do, especially given Reels at the moment, because they are getting such good engagement. So they've only been around not even a year yet, and to summarise them, they're short, entertaining videos, and they are getting really, really good reach at the moment. So I've got a friend in Melbourne who's got a dog walking business, and she has been just basically doing Reels of her dogs, and some of her Reels. So she only just started. I think she's got 150 followers. Like literally just started in the last, I don't know, say 3 or 4 weeks. So 150 followers, and 2 of her Reels that she has done in that space of time has generated. It reached 6,000 people. It literally was a 10-second video of dogs. So yeah, Instagram are allocating the algorithm gearing the algorithm to get reach on Reels. So anyone can make Reel, even if you have never, created or edited a video before, you can still upload a Reel. So at the very low level, you can just upload a video and add some music to it. That's all you need to do, and upload it as a Reel. Basically, the best practice here is to mash up. The best way to do it is to edit 15-second video clips and add audio. So it could be music, add different effects. So that could be like a stop. It could be if you've fast forwarded the speed of that particular video, and then add any creative tools. So you could add different text for that particular Reel. I'll give you my friend's Instagram account just to give you an idea. Is because she's got a lot of Reels on there that you can have a look at. So her handle is Claire, so CLAIRES Dog Squad, so DOG Squad, and just click on her Reel button at the top of her grid, and you'll see she's got about 20, I'd say, 20, 25 Reels there. Just to give you a feel for how short and sharp they can be, and how the music can really make that particular video. So, and everyone loves dogs. That might be a good one for you to look at, Jay, given you've got an account for your golden retriever as well. Lisa's saying, no, I haven't done a reel. Yeah. So even if you don't want to publish the reel, I don't know who was that again. I think it was Lisa. Was it Lisa? Even if you don't have the confidence to publish a reel, you just want to practice, you can practice within Instagram itself. So you can just practice and then save it as a draft or delete it. So just get used to, I suppose, making up a reel within Instagram. It took me a while just to get the feel of it. It's certainly a different feel for Instagram stories. So yeah, different strategy as well, I'd be saying, for your Instagram stories. So practice jumping into reels to get your confidence up, and just to understand the features as well, and all the different ways that you can make up that particular video. But again, happy to go through this in more detail if you do book the 2-hour session. Now, the other thing with reels is they sit on, so unlike stories, so stories sit in your little stories circle, reels actually sit on your grid. All right, so if you had uploaded a reel, it actually sits on your Instagram grid, and you can also share it to your story. So I tend to do that. If I'm making a reel, I'll put it on the client's grid as a post, and then I'll share it as well to that story, because some of your audience will purely be looking at your content on your stories, and some will be looking at the grid. As a personal preference, I'd say 90% of my time I browse Instagram in the stories, and only 10% on the actual grid. So get a feel for, again, where you're getting engagement and where you're getting reach on Instagram. And you can easily see that data in your insights on Instagram. Another example of an account that does some amazing reels and she gets insane reach is Jessica Homestyle. I think she was based in America from memory. So her handle's on the screen. So she has 204,000 followers, which is, impressive in itself. But some of her reels that she has done, so the one in the top left-hand corner, they got reached 28.9 million people. So that's very impressive, given that she's only got not even a quarter of a million followers. So have a look at her account. She does some really creative reels. And one question I do get asked a bit too is, if someone's not following you, how do they discover you? How do they discover your reel? And it comes down to that explore tab. So if you go to your explore tab now, that little magnifying glass, and you'll see there's maybe 1 or 2 reels in there up the top. Generally speaking, I've noticed they've been placing them. So that's how you can be discovered, okay, is through that explore tab. So yeah, have a look at her account. You'll get some inspiration there too. IGTV, has anyone done an IGTV? So just pop in the chat box if you have. IGTV really was, I suppose, Instagram's answer to YouTube. All right, so you can share that longer format video, so over 60 seconds. So you can go for 10 minutes, 10 minutes, and larger accounts can go up to 60 minutes. Now, traditionally, Instagrammers aren't watching longer form video, whereas YouTubers, like people who watch YouTube, they could be watching a video for an hour. So traditionally our behavior of Instagram consumers is not that long format video. The other difference here between, say, a YouTube video and IGTV is IGTV is that vertical, so it's in portrait mode, whereas your YouTube's in horizontal. Horizontal landscape, landscape mode. You know what I was trying to say. So if you are thinking about, if you do have an opportunity to do a longer form video, you have to obviously firstly set up your IGTV. So you load your channel. As mentioned before, you can only upload vertical format video. And the other thing, as mentioned with Reels, IGTV can also be discovered in the Explore button. So I'm just trying to think, I don't watch a lot of IGTV, to be honest, on Instagram, and the accounts I follow, most of them are doing stories over IGTV. But if you do have an opportunity to do that longer form video, then I'd be encouraging you to do that an IGTV. So pretty straightforward to create a channel when you're first. And I set up my IGTV. I'd be thinking, I reckon it's over 4 years ago. So yeah, and I, as I said, I don't watch a lot of IGTV. I'd love to know the stats on it, but yeah, if you haven't set up a channel, set one up anyway. So you've got the little icon there, and you will be able to upload any long form video. So some examples, and again, these examples tend to be quite YouTube centric, because this is what works on YouTube. So tutorials, so it could be that, you've got a product and you're telling people how to put it together. On unboxing, so unboxing is the most watched piece of content on YouTube. So if you're not sure what unboxing is, it's basically watching people open up a box with a product in it. It sounds very not so riveting, but it does get views. There's lots of famous American unboxers on YouTube. Other IGTV examples are product demos, team introductions. All of these particular types of themes, they can also be done on Instagram stories. Okay, so I see a lot of unboxing on Instagram stories, product demos, again, Instagram stories. It really depends on what your business is, and I'm certainly not saying you need to go and do Instagram stories, Reels and IGTV. You've really got to pick where your audience is and what type of content they're consuming. Shopping tags. Anyone here got an e-commerce business, or they've got a website where people can buy product? Shopping tags are fantastic. It's basically allows people to shop straight from Instagram. So they can look at a photo, they can click on that particular photo, as you see in the screenshot here, and they can see what the product is, how much it is. They can then click on that shopping that little tag and be taken to make a purchase. They can do it from Instagram, or there's an option to say go to a website. So pretty cool feature if you do have e-commerce. There's a few guidelines that you've got to adhere to. When you go to set up your Instagram shopping, you do it through settings, and then it's account, and then you click on set up for shopping. Instagram, then I think they take about, in my experience, between 12 hours and I'd say 72 hours to actually come back and approve it. They look at what you have on your website. They look at what you're selling as well. And it's all done through artificial intelligence, because I've had many frustrating moments where products just kept getting declined for no reason. So, a fantastic feature. If you actually want to see an account that has this, I'm just going to find you one. Again, a local account in Bendigo called Mona Lisa, the store. So Mona Lisa, the store. So you can see straight away on their grid, they're a female fashion retail store in Bendigo that also have e-commerce. You'll see on their grid, they've got images of their clothing, and you'll see a little shopping sort of bag, I call it a shopping bag, in the top right-hand side on the actual image. So you click on that, and then you open that image up, and then it says view products. If you click on that, you can then view that particular product. Shows the price, and then you can go ahead and purchase it. So awesome feature to have if you are an e-commerce business. That just goes through how to set it up. You can also do it, if I just go back, you can also do it through Facebook as well. Through there's a feature on your business page called Manage My Shop, or set up, I think, manage my shop manager, I think it's called. So you can click on that and you can set up your Instagram shopping through that too, and also Facebook. So now I'm going to look at different strategies to grow your following. So say you've learned about different features. Now we're going to learn about how to grow your following. This snapshot here is of an account, and this is inside this particular account. It shows you how much engagement they have had on their particular on their content. So this particular product is a business that designs footwear for flight attendants in the aviation industry. So mainly females. They have got one product they've got boots for males, but generally speaking, their audience is, I think it's like 93% females off the top of my head. So you can see here, this is a snapshot of their grid and how much engagement they're getting. So you can see, and I can see it straight away, what is working for them. So you'll see there's been some product shots, there's been industry-related shots, and then there's a couple of memes as well. So you'll see that one, that left-hand side, top left-hand side, is by far the best performing piece of content for them. So it's not all about products. It's certainly engaging with that particular audience. So they've got a very niche audience. Their audience is flight attendants. Okay, so all their content is geared towards anything to do with aviation, aimed at the female customer. So always look at your insights and see what's actually what you think might work, maybe opposite to what is actually working. So the data doesn't lie, so make sure you dive into that and see how you're tracking and do more of what works. So you can look at particular goals. Goals you can measure for a particular time period. So you look at engagement, which I showed that slide before, and you can get to that just through your insights. Look at impressions and reach. So impressions and reach are slightly different. So impressions are how many times that, reach is how many accounts that your piece of content has gotten to. Impressions is the number of how many times that content has been seen. So one account might see your content 3 times. Look at the best and worst performing content types. So there's photos, videos, or a carousel post. Now, a carousel post is a post that has more than one photo, for example. So you can do up to 10 photos on Instagram in the one post. So look at different types of posts to see what they're working, see which one's performing best for you. And I always find this really interesting exercise because we get told so often in the industry that video always performs better. So I always go into clients' accounts to compare, is photo performing better or is video performing better, or carousel, particularly on Facebook. It maps it out nice and clear for you. So yeah, look at what's working for you. Don't just necessarily go with what's on trend. Look at your own data. Instagram also give you data on what time of the day is best to post, and also what day is your peak day. So in my experience, I would be saying that I've found, and again, depends on your business, depends who your customers are, but I find for local businesses that a early morning and nighttime posts are the best times of the day to post or to schedule your post in terms of getting engagement and reach. Now, I've tried so many different times. I've tried 6:30 in the morning, 9 o'clock in the morning when people get to work, lunchtime. I've tried school pickup time, 5 o'clock when people knock off from work, and I always tend to go back to the time slot between sort of 7:30 and 9:30 at night, because that's when people actually have the time to engage. So even if they see your post during the day, they might be busy or they might get distracted if they're about to comment. So at night time, when they're not working and they've got time to chill out on the couch, I find is the best time to post, but certainly do some trials. So I'd be spending perhaps 2 weeks looking at posting at different times and seeing which one of those posts are getting the greatest reach or engagement. So definitely posting at best times. And the other thing with that is when you've scheduled your content don't just sit and forget. So don't just schedule it and go, oh, I'm done for the week. Sweet. Always make sure that you're replying to people who have engaged on your content. So it could be they've left a comment underneath a photo or video that you've posted, or it could be that they've messaged you after one of your stories. So take the time to message it back, because I don't know if anyone's experienced when you've reached out to a business or somebody else on Instagram and they haven't actually engaged in a two-way conversation, which is another massive point of difference of social media compared to other forms of advertising. You have the opportunity to have a two-way conversation with your customer, which ties in with customer service. So use that to your advantage. Post consistently, I mentioned this earlier, so consistently posting over sporadically posting, and don't necessarily look at this graph and go, I have to post 7 posts per week. I'd much rather you be posting quality posts over quantity posts. If you can post 7 times a week, once a day, go for it, but don't just do it for the sake of it, because you will lose your audience as well. Be social on social media. So again, it's one thing to schedule your content and have this cracking, grid and great Instagram stories, but you've also got to be social and network with other accounts. An example of this is Emmy Lou Love. So her handle's on the screen. I'm not sure if anyone, maybe particularly the Melburnians, have heard of Emmy Lou, but she is a PR machine, and she responds to everyone that it messages her or comments on her posts. Like, she must spend a lot of time glued to her phone. This is her business. But the other flip side of that is to actually also take the time to follow other businesses, particularly in that local area if you're a local business, or industry-related businesses, and engage on their content. All right, I've certainly met work acquaintances through Instagram where we've just connected through, I've seen their content, they've seen my content, and we've sparked up a conversation and we've ended up doing work together. So be genuine. Don't do it just because you want to get a like out of someone, but definitely be genuine. A bit of a best practice here to get into a disciplined rhythm is to just allocate, say, 10 minutes a day to start off with, and just spend time networking on social media as your own brand. Okay, so liking other posts, DMing people, watching their stories, and just generally making those connections. And 10 minutes, if you can do that consistently, it's a good little habit to get into, and you might make it, in the next month you might say, I'm going to do 20 minutes, whatever it may be. But yeah, just being active and being social on social media will help grow your brand. Another strategy is to follow hashtags. So you can, I'm not sure if anyone follows hashtags. I certainly do in Bendigo, but look at, let's just type in there, look at different hashtags that are relevant to your industry or to your local area. Again, I'm going to go to the chat box, and it might be, who am I going to look at? So Alana, you, for example, you might follow the hashtag, say, mental health, or what else? That would be a very popular hashtag, I'd imagine. You might follow the hashtag Melbourne as well. So yeah, follow hashtags that are relevant to your business or relevant to your geolocation. See who's using those hashtags. Is it a potential client? Is it a business that you might do some business with? Again, that work on social media. Another strategy to do is to investigate your own followers and engagers. So see who is active on your social media. So who are the people that are liking your content? Who are the people that are engaging your content? Jump over to their Instagram, have a look at what they're about, and return the favour. Comment on their social media as well, and that's how you build up that rapport and relationship online. Research your competitors. So good to know. I wouldn't be spending hours doing this, but just have a look at what they're posting. Have a look at maybe who's following them as well. I tend to stick to, if I look at local competitors, I also then look at in anyone in the industry that's outside of my competitive space to see what they're doing for social media. So I often follow a lot of social media people in America, look at what they're posting about, look at what's working for them too. There's actually, if I just jump off Instagram for a moment, jump onto Facebook, there's a great feature on Facebook in your Insights tab where you can watch other pages. So you can watch other competitors or like similar businesses in your space and see what they're posting, and also you can see on how fast their Facebook account is growing. Another feature on Facebook, which is not on Instagram, is you can actually go to a page and see what ads they're running. So see what paid ads they're running. To do that, just type up their business account on Facebook. On the left-hand side, you'll go scroll down and you'll see a section called Page Transparency. If you click on that, it'll tell you if that particular page is running any paid ads. And if they are, you can click on and see what ads they're running. So I always find that interesting to see what bigger brands are doing and also what local businesses are doing too. Very competitive space is real estate space, and probably, I don't know if anyone else can relate, but it is in Bendigo. There's one particular real estate agent that I jump on often and see what ads they're running, and on any given week they're running up to 30 paid ads to get their to advertise homes that they have listed. I've sort of covered this about committing to regular engaging or tagging people as well in your posts. So tagging followers or even tagging other businesses that you think may find your posts relevant. All right. This is a strategy that can work really well. Just don't do it for the sake of tagging another business just to get their attention. You always need to do it strategically, okay? Because it can get really annoying. Use geotags. So when you're doing a post, you have an opportunity to actually add the location of where you are. So it's another helpful way to become discoverable. So if people are doing a particular search on, a suburb, I'll say Bendigo, if they're doing a search for Bendigo, and I've posted a photo with the Bendigo location on it, my photo will come up. Okay, so it's another good way to see who's in your area, to see who's actually tagging their geolocation. So another way to become discoverable. Hashtags I spoke about earlier. So yeah, you can have up to 30, but anything sort of over 11 seems to be a sweet spot. Okay, so best practice there is to add your hashtags to I added mine to a note section on my computer, and then I copy and paste those hashtags when I need to on Instagram. And then I also mix it up. So Instagram don't like you using the same hashtags on every single post. They like you to mix it up. So I would add a couple more hashtags or delete a couple of hashtags. But hashtags, again, help your content to become more discoverable. Right. So I read a fact, it would have been last year, that posts with hashtags on them get, I think it's something like 15% more engagement. All right, so there has been a bit of a trend of bigger brands pulling away from hashtags, but certainly while you're growing, because they've obviously got a big following, but certainly while you're growing, I would definitely recommend using between 11 and 30 hashtags. User-generated content, we've spoken a little bit about that. So you can actually encourage your customers to post to talk about your business and to also tag you in a particular post. So obviously restaurants, holiday motels, they lend themselves to that type of content and people tagging about them. If you're a service-based business, a little bit harder to actually get people to tag you, especially Alana, I'd say the nature of your business, you'll probably get nobody tagging, which is fair enough. But yeah, where you can, particularly if you've got a product, is to make it easy for people to be able to tag you. I know I mentioned the flight attendant shoes business before on their shoe boxes. When people receive their Sky Soles in the box and on the outside of the box, they've got their Instagram handle, and they've got a little note about how we, would love to see, them rocking their Sky Soles. So we encourage people to upload a photo and for them to tag. And also then the best practice is if someone has tagged you in a photo, you still need to actually ask them if you could post their image. So instead of using a reposting app, because you can get apps where they repost that image, I tend to just screenshot the image and then I'll post it and I'll tag the person that actually actually published the photo in the first place. Or the other thing I'll do is I will say where the image was sourced from. So yeah, people like having that recognition, and particularly if you are using a photo from a photographer, you've got to make sure you've got their permission to use that photo first, because they get really cranky if you share one of their photos. And I see this from time to time. It happened the other day to a lady I know. She posted a photo and then someone else had reused that photo for their business without even getting permission. So yeah, it's a little bit it's not the right thing to do, and you can get in trouble too from copywriting, which goes on to this next slide. And there was an example in Bendigo where someone reused a photo without permission, and they actually got fined. I think it was $3,500 for copyright. So always ask permission, particularly if you've just found a photo that you like on Instagram that you want to use. Always ask permission and do it in a public forum as well. And wait for them to circle back and give you permission. You don't want to end up in hot water there. So a couple of other rules just before we wrap up, and I'll go on to questions, is be original with your content. So I mentioned at the start being authentic. Don't pretend to be someone you're not, and certainly don't copy anybody else's content. Don't use a commenting bot. Some of you may or may not have come across a commenting bot, but what that is it's almost like a fake account which comments on as your account on other accounts in order to grow your following. Now, I've actually had a client that insisted that he wanted to use a commenting bot, and they grew his following significantly. However, the followers that we had were no good to us. They were never going to be customers. So it basically just gets in the way. Having these fake customers gets in the way of actually getting to your real followers who are going to buy from you. Don't use a follow and unfollow method. So that method is whereby you can follow heaps of different accounts, and if they don't follow you back, you go and unfollow them. It's definitely not cool to do. If you are going to start following accounts, my advice there is to, again, search for accounts in your local area if you are a local business and start following them. If you're going to follow someone that's a personal profile, as a business, I never follow someone who's got a private account unless I know them. And you can tell if you go to click on follow, the button will come up as requested, meaning they have to approve it. If that happens, I quickly click on unfollow because, unless I know them, I'm not going to really creep around and follow them because they're obviously on private for a reason. Just some final thoughts. So always start your Instagram with an objective. So your objective may simply be that you just want to get your brand out there, maybe that you're wanting to sell products, and maybe that you're wanting to just, storytell. So always start with your objective, work out who your customer persona is. So you always need to know who you're selling to. Work out who your business persona is. So that will help set the tone and the voice for your Instagram posting. Look at stories. So look at your stories, look at storytelling, look at what content you have, look at your grid. So start planning your grid and then start posting. And best practice there is to schedule your posts at peak time. And I think that comes to the end of the presentation. Yes, it is. So a lot of information there, guys, and like a lot of information in a short amount of time as well. There's certainly a lot to cover. So I'm going to throw it over to you. I don't think any questions have popped up so far, but if everyone wants to put their Instagram handle in the chat as well, would be a good way to, so we can have a look at each other's Instagram account. We've got a pretty quiet audience tonight. Normally I'm absolutely inundated with questions. So Lisa's saying, yes, lots to take in. Yeah, there is. And Lisa, as I mentioned it several times, just the the one-on-one session is a slower pace. This was like an 80-page PowerPoint. I didn't want to tell you guys at the start because I'm sure some of you would have dropped off. But yeah, the one-on-one sessions are a lot less hectic, and they can be really tailored to what you're wanting to know, in particular for your Instagram. Has anyone got any wins that they've had on Instagram that they want to share? And while you're having a think, I'll quickly share one that happened to my sister, who at the time was a wedding photographer. So in Bendigo, so she had she shot a wedding and put a couple of photos up on Instagram, and had used a hashtag of it was Hepburn. I think it was Hepburn photographer. She used a hashtag, so she used like Echuca photographer, Bendigo photographer. So she covered her sort of geographic area. And a bride-to-be who was getting married in Hepburn, who was based in Sydney, was doing some research on Instagram and was looking up the hashtag Hepburn photographer. And my sister's photo popped up under that hashtag. So she clicked over to my sister's Instagram account, looked at her imagery, and then contacted her and booked in a $3,500 wedding. So that was all just from one hashtag, the strategic hashtag. So it shows you the power of a hashtag. Another story actually I'll quickly share while you guys are putting your handles in is, and thanks for sharing, who was that, Iris? Thanks for sharing. Is when the Today Show, it was when Carl and Lisa were the hosts. So I read in the paper, in the Addy, this is going back, I would say 5 years ago, they announced that they were coming to Bendigo. So so at the time, I still am actually managing the social media for a local pub in Bendigo. So I said to the owner, how about we try and get the Today Show to come into the pub when they're filming in Bendigo. So we did a series of little videos. They weren't anywhere near professional level at all, and that's what made them. They were a bit of fun. They looked like they were, straight out of the pub, which they were. And so we uploaded those videos and then used particular hashtags, and also tagged the network in and the Today Show. From that, they got on the radar of the Today Show. The producer rang the pub and said, we're coming in on the Monday of the long weekend. We're bringing I think it was something like 40 crew members, and we're coming in. We're going to do some filming, which was awesome. And from that, they had national coverage of their pub that went for 12 months because they were in one of the snippets that they were promoting their trip, like the Today Show trip around Australia. They got coverage in the paper. They got coverage on social media as well. So yeah, it's strategic hashtags and also tagging can really work. Iris is just saying, I started this account 4 weeks ago and I got a reel scoring 17,000. I think I just got picked up. Oh, how good's that, Iris? That's amazing. I've written down your handle, so I'm going to jump in and have a look. There's some inspiration for everyone right there. Iris, 4 weeks into it, she's got a reach of 17,000 people. So that's awesome. Actually, I can't wait. I'm going to look at your account now. And picked up on Discover page. Also you mean on the Explore page? Yeah, that's great. That's awesome. And to be honest, that's how I often stumble across accounts, on that Explore page. Frenchism, there you go. That's awesome. So everyone jump on to Iris's account, because I can see you've got a curated grid and you're doing reels, and you're doing carousel images. You've got a great grid there, and you've got highlights, and you've got stories, and you've got your link. Another link actually that I didn't mention was where you put your website link. So in your edit profile, if you look at a website called Linktree, which is LINKTREE, I actually have a Linktree link on my own Instagram, Mingle Media Bendigo. But if you look at Linktree, you can actually set up a link on your Instagram, in your Instagram bio. Instead of sending people to your website, it sends you to a landing page, and you can actually then have different options of where you want to drive people. So instead of them going to your homepage on your website and then they navigate through there, this landing page helps them to navigate to the right section of your website that they want to get to. So again, it's free to use. There is a paid version of $7 a month, which allows you to customize your landing page significantly more. So yeah, if you are driving people back to a website, I would definitely look at the link tree option, which I'm just going to pop it in this that's link tree. I'm pretty sure it's all one word. So have a look at that. That's that's awesome, Iris, and I'm glad you shared that win that you had with your reel. I'm going to give you a follow and keep an eye on your reels. Did you find it easy to make the actual reel itself? I'll just wait for Iris to respond. Has anyone got any further questions, or is anyone, while we're all on this together, jump onto your Discover, your Explore page, and hopefully you see, oh, that's awesome, Iris said yes. Hopefully you see a reel up the top. What else can you see? I see a lot. So there you go. I've got two reels already popped up. I've got a shopping tag. There's another reel. There's another reel. Lots of influences on my end as well. But yeah, have a look, because this will reflect on what you're actually searching up. So it's quite fascinating. So yeah, that's awesome, Iris. I think you've just inspired everyone. Iris has just jumped on and had a few tries, and there you go, all up it took 10 minutes. How good that? That's investing your time in a good thing to get that many people that you've reached. Have you generated any business from it yet, Iris? Do you know if you've generated, obviously you're starting to grow your account, but have you generated business from your efforts so far? Sorry, I'm picking on you, Iris. I'll just wait for that answer. Anyone else got burning questions? I'll leave my email up here as well. Just leave that there as well. Not yet. Okay, it's only early days there, 4 weeks. You're doing well. I've just put my email in the chat too. So, and you will, after this session, you'll receive a feedback survey that needs to be filled out. It only takes a couple of minutes, and also you will get a link to register for the 2-hour powwow. Iris said I'm still developing my product. Oh, awesome. That sounds exciting. So I'm looking at going an email list. Oh, brilliant. Are you on Facebook as well, Iris? You're around on the grid. Oh, yeah. Great question, Lisa. And no, again, a feature that I would absolutely love to have. You can't do it. If it's already gone up, you can't do it. No. So that's why it's good to plan in those tools that I mentioned earlier on. The only other way around that, Lisa, is if you put a tile up there that doesn't match up, you can delete it and post it at a later date. But yeah, I wish they had that feature. I often pray for that feature to come up. So good question, but no. You'll have to. I've just started following you, Iris, so I'll be following you with bated breath to see what your product is. And great that you've actually jumped on to social media while you're still in product development, because you can take people on that journey as well, and you can really build your loyal following. People will be invested in that element of your business. I call it the Kim Kardashian syndrome. People actually care what you're doing with your life on social media. So yeah, share that journey with them as much as you can without sort of, if you need to keep it, under wraps a little bit, that's fine. But yeah, share as much as you can with the audience. You can even turn to the audience, Iris, to get some feedback as well as you're in product development. I reckon we're going to wrap things up now, guys. Thank you for being interactive. There's one more. I was going to look up Jay's account. I didn't write that one down. Jay's journal journey. Awesome. I'm going to put that in. Jay's journal journey. Maybe you and Alana could do. There might be a bit of cross promotion there with the psychology practice, who knows. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for joining me this evening. I know it's a lot. It's a talk fest for me, and it's a listen fest for you guys. So well done for hanging in there. I do appreciate it. You will get a copy of this. You've got my email as well, so reach out if you had any questions but didn't want to ask them. And hopefully I get to meet you guys over Zoom, and we can, do a bit of a deeper dive into your business. Have a great night, everyone, and thanks again for joining. Good luck. Bye.